Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Danish Aiman bin Muhammad Yusri and I am the group leader of Group 2. Today, our group will be presenting on how Ministry of Transportation manage e-hailing issue in our country. So before we begin, let me introduce the other members in the group. So the second members is Haziqah Abd Aziz. The following members is Shamimi Qaisarah binti Mustafa Kamal, and the last member would be Putri Yasmin Fatehah binti Malik Muhammad.
Intermediation business or e-hailing is a service that allows consumers to book e-hailing services using online applications. E-hailing has many types of services and the most popular used by consumers is transportation services. The vehicles are private automobiles with a seating capacity of 4 people and a maximum seating is 11 people, including the driver. The services are provided across Malaysia, including Sabah and Sarawak. E-hailing became popular in Malaysia in 2013 with the first e-hailing company, which is Uber. Then it was followed by Grab, and now this company is the most well-known e-hailing corporation and dominated the market since a few years ago. However, in yearly 2020, there is an issue that has disrupted e-hailing services, which is the challenges faced by the e-hailing drivers in this difficult time due to the COVID-19 epidemic. The government took the first step by immediately closing all the sectors in Malaysia, including e-hailing services. This caused e-hailing companies to not be able to function properly due to the implementation of MCO and have to close their operations. Because of that, the drivers will lost their jobs and had no income to support themselves. They need to find another job for a while before the e-hailing company returns to operations. The issue was handled by Ministry of Transport Malaysia (MOT) and the minister was Wee Kasyop.
Organizing is an arrangement of idea and plan according to a particular system that can be used to make the best decisions.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Haziqah binti Abd Aziz. So today I'm going to present for my part, which is planning. The issue that our group would like to present is on how the Ministry of Transport managed e-hailing issue during COVID-19 that hit in Malaysia. So basically, what is planning? Planning is the process of making decisions, do research about the organization, and selecting ways to achieve the objective to solve the problem. That means planning is the fundamental in an organization. If no planning in the organization, they would not implement their goals or objectives. We go to the next slide, which is the importance of planning. Number 1 is provide creative and innovative thinkers. When the organization has a creative and innovative thinking, they would make a brilliant ideas to achieve the goals. It requires strategies on how to produce quality productions, how much workers needed, and how much the cost of production needed. Number 2 is provides direction to make decision. A good planning will pay off if every level in the organization cooperated with each other, especially in making the best decision to achieve the goals of the organization. Last but not least, the importance of planning also includes reduces wasteful activities. When the organization do the strategies, it can reduce wasteful activities. This can be done by measuring the production. Next one is type of planning. There are 4 types of planning. It includes tactical planning, strategic planning, operational planning, and contingency planning. Number 1 is tactical planning. Basically, tactical planning is the short-term plan to achieve. It mostly involves the ideas from the middle manager in the organization. Normally, it takes 1 to 18 month time frames to achieve the goals. Next one is strategic planning. Strategic planning determines the mission and vision for long-term plan to survive the organization. The ideas and mission of strategic planning would be executed by the top level in the organization. Number 3 is operational planning. It is a daily activities that involving the policies, procedure, and work plan. It also has two main types of operational planning, which are single-use plan and standing plan. Last but not least is contingency planning. The organization must plan something because of crisis that they suddenly face and may face the problem in the future. That's why they use contingency planning. Next slide is about short-term plan and long-term plan by the Ministry of Transport to manage e-hailing's issue. For the short-term plan, MOT, which is the Ministry of Transport, had a short-term plan to give a donation of money to e-hailing drivers and riders. It is called PAD101 that supports collaboration with PAD. They receive 500 ringgit per person. Moreover, MOT also had established MyGo Meals, which is food delivery service. The food delivery service was established to capitalize on rising consumer demand. This provides opportunity to the community who want to work as e-hailing drivers and riders. Thus, with this short-term plan, it will increase the income of e-hailing drivers. The long-term plans of the Ministry of Transport MOT includes regulating gig economy and e-hailing booming. The purpose of regulating gig economy e-hailing is to increase the number of employees who can make e-hailing services as temporary jobs and boosting Malaysia's economy. It also to ensure the welfare of e-hailing drivers and riders are protected. Lastly is MOT, then e-hailing boom. By doing this e-hailing boom, the e-hailing drivers and riders can increase their income, at the same time gaining new experiences and improving skills in various fields.
The process of organizing involves identifying and grouping the works to be performed, defining and delegating the responsibility and authority, and establishing the relationships for the purpose of enabling people to work more effectively in accomplishing objectives and goals. Organizing involve assigning tasks, grouping tasks into departments, delegating authority, and allocating resources across the organization. Importance of organizing also include encourage specializations. Doing the tasks while the employees could be cooperative among each other could lead to a better results. The ministry that in charge need to organize their works and dividing works into sections so that they can manage to ensure the reopenings of e-hailing sector will run smoothly in line with the set of objectives. Other importance of organizing is helps in smooth delegations of authority. It allows individuals and groups to perform tasks more efficiently. All the processes that need to be done in the concerns need to be identified first, and then divide the work specifically. And finally, combine the groups of activities into logical subdivisions. Ministry of Transport Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong has worked with various parties to solve the problems of reopening e-hailing due to the new norms. The last one is brings order and cohesiveness. When Malaysia has decided not to shut down the economy under the movement control under 2.0 and 3.0 to revive the country's economy, all public transport services including taxis and e-hailings are allowed to operate. In accordance with strict standards operating procedures (SOP) that has been declared by the Ministry of Transportation and Health, every MOT organizations will unite to create the best SOP. E-hailing operations can run smoothly when employees follow the SOP. The relevant strategies to solve the issues by the Ministry of Transportation is by the exchange of common in an organization. Minister Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong instructed taxi drivers to obtain a letter of approvals from the Logistic Industry Information System. E-hailing drivers can obtain a copy of the approvals letters from the Transportation Ministry, which has been given to the respective e-hailing operators. This involves Ministers of Transport and e-hailing operators. With a set organizational strategy, we facilitate the affairs of all parties. Second strategy is by the help of other departmentations, which is PDRM. Most public transport users need to get interstates or inter-district approvals from police to avoid any issues if they use any modes of public transport for related travel. Last strategy is relevant authorities and staff need to organizing the improvement of the safety and rules for riding e-hailings. Only people who have been fully vaccinated are allowed to ride e-hailing. MOH requires all e-hailing drivers to have mask gesture in their vehicles. We can easily detect if someone infected and close contact by checking in mask gesture. E-hailing's public transport passengers vehicles was limited to 2 people, namely the driver and a passenger, including for large-sized vehicles such as 4-wheel drivers.
My name is Danish Aiman and I will be presenting on decision making and controlling. So, what is the definition of controlling? Decision making is the process of determining the best course of action or alternative to taking to resolve specific problems. Decision making is actually vital as it is needed in all management process such as controlling, organizing and leading. All level of management in an organization are participate in decision making, whether it's top level management or low level management. For example, in an organization, if an employee is involved in drug related incident, the manager need to make a decision whether to keep the employee or fire the employee. In this case, it's better for the manager to fire the employee as it is involved the reputation of the organization. Okay, now let's go to the next slide, which is the importance of decision making in the context of Ministry of Transportation. So the first importance of decision making is a good decision making is able to save time. The Ministry of Transportation is one of the largest public organization in Malaysia, which means that they deal with any serious or critical issues related to transportation every day. To solve any problems, the head of Ministry of Transportation needs to make good decisions. Good decision making can save much time. Hence, the Ministry of Transportation's effectiveness and efficiency can increase as they solve an issue quickly and able to focus on other vital matters. The second importance of decision making is it able to increase productivity. The Ministry of Transportation is an organization whose hierarchy has multiple levels and responsibilities. This means that the employees have many people to refer when doing a complicated task. As the head of Ministry of Transportation, a quick decision making ability able to increase productivity. The public servant in the organization is motivated to do work efficiently and creatively as they have much longer duty to complete a certain task. The last importance of decision making is able to earn respect. The Ministry of Transportation, who known as one of the largest organizations in Malaysia, must have a good credibility, which means that whatever decisions are going to be made are able to give a good impact to the public. Hence, it able to gain confidence to do work among public officials as they have confidence with top management to steer the direction for them. Now, let's move on to the process of decision making. But let me explain what happened in Malaysia back in 2020. In early March of 2020, Malaysia was not excluded from the infection of COVID-19 pandemic. Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, the 8th Prime Minister, has decided to implement Movement Control Order nationwide on 18 March of 2020. After several months of Movement Control Order, the government has decided to lift some of the restrictions to improve the economy, which means that some of the workers are going to return to their office. So, Ministry of Transportation has taken steps to ensure that the blue-collar and white-collar workers can commute in the safest environment as possible, especially in e-hailing. We caution the Minister of Transportation needs to make a non-program decision as it is a new situation that the Ministry has never dealt with before. Non-program decision is a decision where the routine is unusual and is a new situation that never encountered by the top level management, aka the Ministry. If you ask me, what are the conditions of decision making that made by the MOT? Okay, so the condition of decision making made by MOT is risk, whereby the Ministry of Transportation needs to make a crucial decision that involve people's lives and needs to acknowledge the data that have been collected by World Health Organization WHO. Okay, now let's talk about the process of decision making. Firstly, the Ministry of Transportation need to identify and diagnose the problem. They must first analyze the situation before taking any action. The issue that they are currently facing is to determine how to create a safe environment for those who commute via public transportation. Following that, the ministry must specify the root cause of the problem. In this case, the issue is caused because of COVID-19. COVID-19 is able to spread to other people very easily. The Ministry of Transportation should convene a brainstorming session with MKN or Majlis Keselamatan Negara. The following process is to develop an alternative. The Ministry of Transportation needs to find an option to solve this problem as soon as possible. They can try to make an alternative by watching how other countries solve this kind of issues. For example, the European country. The European country has lifted its restriction much sooner than our country, so they can find what alternatives have been done by other countries and compare if it's suitable for our country. For example, in one car of e-hailing, only 2 or 3 people are allowed to ride the vehicle per trip. So what are the next decision making process? The next decision making process is evaluated alternative. During this stage, MOT and MKN needs to finalize their decision. They need to choose the decision that have fewest consequence. In this instance, MOT and MKN have determined that both passengers and drivers need to wear their masks throughout the trip. As a result, the risk of COVID-19 transmission between both the passenger and drivers may be reduced. Finally, the last decision-making process is implement and follow up. During this stage, MOT and MKN needs to understand the choice that have been made and why it was made. They also needs to acknowledge that this implementation of standard or procedure may not run smoothly, and they need to prepare if there's anything problem occur. MOT and MKN also need to collect data on how effective the implementation of the decision. As a result, after 492 days of implementation, it went smoothly and the workers able to commute to their office safely. Let's move on to controlling. So what is the definition of controlling? According to Kuhns, controlling is the process of measuring and correcting performance to ensure that the organization goals and plans for achieving them are met. So basically, manager in an organization needs to create a target to compare ongoing progress and verify that employees working in the organization are heading in the proper directions towards the goal that they are working. Controlling is closely related to the other 3 significant functions of management, which is planning, organizing, and leading. Controlling is the function that brings the management cycle to the full circle. Controlling is also related to the planning by establishing means for monitoring and correcting action to ensure plans can be achieved smoothly. After we know the definition of controlling, now let's move on to the importance of controlling in the context on how Ministry of Transportation manage e-hailing issues. So the first importance of controlling is controlling able to help an organization achieve its goal. The controlling functions constantly measure the organization employee performance and ensure that they work toward the goal. For example, we can see how the Land Public Transport Agency (PAD), who works under the Ministry of Transportation, solve e-hailing issues. Their goals is to have safe transportation system. During COVID-19 outbreak, PAD needs to collect data on their employees. If there's an issues that occur within the employees, PAD needs to take corrective measure to solve the problem before it become more significant issue. Secondly, the second importance of controlling is controlling able to assist in management process. In the management cycle, controlling is a step after organizing and leading. If one of the process is missing, the whole organization will suffer. As an example, if the Ministry of Transportation decide not to implement the controlling function, the performance of the organization's public officials will be subpar. As a result, the Ministry of Transportation will suffer to meet its goal. So how does the Ministry of Transportation use the controlling function during COVID-19 pandemic? Okay, so basically e-hailing drivers are also frontliners because they help other frontliners like nurse and doctor get to work during the MCOs. On July 26 of 2021, the Ministry of Transportation, Wee Ka-siong, has announced that the e-hailing drivers is one of the first group to receive vaccines, as they are also the frontliners. The vaccines are given to e-hailing drivers to ensure their performance and able to help other frontliners commute to their office. In order to increase the efficiency of e-hailing during the COVID-19 pandemic, PAD has increased the number of e-hailing drivers by remove upper age limit, so the workers who use the e-hailing apps able to find drivers to commute to their office much quicker. Next, there are several steps in controlling to make sure the system is catered to specific situations. There are 4 steps in controlling process. Firstly, they need to establish standards and methods for measuring performance. The Ministry of Transportation must create an achievable standard and compare it with the current performance. The MOT wants to create a safe systems of public transportation, and at the same time they want to maintain the driver's performance during COVID-19 pandemic. The ministry wants the e-hailing drivers works in the safest environment, and the drivers also able to work as usual without spreading the virus to the workers who use e-hailing as transportations to commute to their office. So, they need to compare the current situations with the standards that have been set. If the recent performance is not met, the APD needs to find strategies to solve this problem. The MOT needs to measure the performance. When the standards already established, the MOT needs to decide what to measure, when to measure, and how frequently to measure. APD department must collect data of e-hailing drivers by the e-hailing operator and company to see their performance during the COVID-19 pandemic. As the COVID-19 cases arise every day, MOT needs to do it as frequently as possible so they can evaluate the solution much quicker. In this case, MOT and APD measures the safety of e-hailing drivers and the risk of getting infected by the virus during the operation of e-hailing. Thirdly, they need to determine whether performance match the standards. During this step, MOT and APD needs to supervise the performance of e-hailing drivers and compare it with the previous established standards. MOT and APD can come to conclusion during this step by using the data that has been given by the e-hailing company. This stage also determines whether they should modify the policies to meet the current needs. Lastly, they must take corrective actions. After the MOT and APAD has gathered enough data, they should know what area to improve. They need to take action that doesn't consume many resources so it will be efficient and reduce the cost at the same time. In this case, MOT is working closely with COVID Immunization Task Force, has collected 100,000 names of e-hailing drivers for vaccination purpose by the end of August 2021. So, it will also ensure the safety of drivers and passengers, while at the same time MOT also can break the chain of COVID-19 from being spread to other people.
The issue that is being faced by the e-hailing sector is not a small thing. In fact, it needs to be taken seriously because we don't know when this COVID-19 epidemic will stop. This will be a big challenge to the government, especially the MOT, because they must always think of the best way to revive the e-hailing sector as well as revitalize the country's economy. However, we all know that MOT are capable of dealing with these situations because they have detailed strategies and are always prepared in the face of any eventuality. We need to thank them because they never given up on resolving the issue for the benefit of the people in this country. The process of planning, organizing, decision-making, and controlling has greatly helped the ministry to solve the problems that our country and the people were faced with. If they don't examine every process well, we won't be able to live as we do now, even though almost our entire life are changed. As consumers, we must follow the SOP that have been set by the government, no matter where we are, especially when we use e-hailing services. This step will not eliminate the rate of infection of this virus to the public, but this step will also help us to prevent ourselves and others from becoming victims of this vicious virus. Next, our suggestion to manage the issue is MOT can create more new online e-hailing platforms such as InDriver and Asia Ride. It is because the current situation has forced us to use this online system to control the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Also, everyone is now more comfortable using online applications to do some activities in their daily life. Finally, all the efforts made by the government and the MOT to prevent the COVID-19 epidemic are highly appreciated because they care about the people in this country and prioritize the needs of society.